Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by my buddy. Wherever he goes, I go too. Now let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome everybody to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Hey, I'm Talking Here, the hit new podcast by Italians for everyone but Italians. Subscribe now to Hey, I'm Talking Here. Welcome everyone to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we're filmmakers. We like to talk shop, talk movies, and I don't know, see what we can learn about that whole process of making movies, which looks so easy. I mean, they make it look like it takes no effort at all, right? Whenever you see a scene and it's got, 30 cuts in it, you're like, oh man, that took probably, 10 minutes to make, right? Because the scene was 5 minutes, so you got to move the camera around, but otherwise, it's cake, simple. And yet that scene may have taken like 10 hours. If you're lucky.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. Honestly, every film looks fun to make. Even The Revenant. I don't know. Come on. To be on a set with 100 other people all trying to make the same awesome thing, putting 100% in, and trying to be as creative as they can. And I'm sure that some sets are difficult, but I don't think it's difficult because you're making a movie. I think that people make it difficult. I think if you're an asshole, director, it's going to be a difficult thing to make because it's usually your idea has got to be the one done. It's not best idea wins, and you just telling people what to do the whole day. But if you're not, and if you're you have a vision and everybody else shares that vision, but can also offer suggestion in the moment to be creative, that's a fun, exciting thing to be a part of. And that's why I think that you and I watch movies and we think, man, that would be so much fun to do, or to find a way to do, right? To kind of fumble our way through. And I think, just to add to that for just a second, I think that a lot of times when we watch films, we think that everything that we see on screen was planned. And I don't think that that's the case. I think that probably at least 40 to 50% of the time, there are things that happen that the director, the producer, the cinematographer cannot predict. Maybe at this one perfect moment, the sun comes out from behind a cloud or something, and that shines perfectly on somebody's face, and that changes the meaning of the entire scene. Something small like that, you know what I mean? I think those things happen all the time, constantly, and being malleable enough to spot those moments and to be okay with that kind of thing, that's part of the fun. So we like a movie that we are covering today, I'm sure. I mean, it's almost like a journey, like one of those journey movies, or like a driving movie almost, where you're in a new place every single scene. Stuff had to happen that they didn't expect, that was oh, we're using that, even though we didn't plan it. So anyway, that's one of the reasons I love movies, because I think I can, not that I can point those moments out, but I can almost guarantee that in every movie that you watch, something like that happened and it organically became part of the story. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's so true. I think unless, right, you're David Fincher, who's going to do 40 takes, just to use one of those cuts, which blows my mind. I don't know how it's fun for him to do that. Cause this is part of the process of enjoying what you do for a living. And I'm all about getting what you need, and making sure you're hitting it. My last short film I did, there was a handful of times when, I would keep the scene rolling. We would finish the scene and I'd keep it rolling and say, okay, reset, go. Everyone's still rolling, come back and sit here and go from here to here. Go from here. Okay. And they'll do it, reset, go again. And whenever you're ready, and do it a dozen times until I'm like, okay, we got it. I heard exactly what I wanted. I saw exactly what I wanted. Now we can move on. That's fun. And and my actors have never pushed back and never gotten outwardly frustrated. And I think more than anything, they appreciate that they know I got what I wanted, and and therefore they're going to look good at the end of it. I'm going to make sure you look good. Your performance comes through. And so whenever I see like Fincher doing these crazy, 99 takes on the Schulster Network is this famous one, but that isn't necessarily an outlier. Like he will do 30, 40 takes. And I have no idea what he's looking for because that's ballooning your budget. Like if you wonder why he doesn't make more films, that's probably got something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in, his production house or whatever, but that probably doesn't help. But seeing like a movie like this, I have those same thoughts. Like this was probably so much fun. Like you probably are building all these relationships, and that's what so much of filmmaking is. You're getting on set with a bunch of people. Some you've worked with before, some you haven't. And so you get to build new relationships while having inside jokes with all your old friendships. And whenever you start doing like night scenes, things get really crazy because depending on where you're shooting that stuff, you might have to be shooting, call time at, 6 p.m. You're arriving on set at 6 p.m. That means you're wrapping at, 5 a.m. You're going home while the sun's going up. That can be really fun. It's obviously exhausting. But if the newer you are, the more fun that is. Like probably the more old hat you are, the more you're like, F this job, this lifestyle. But like at some point, maybe we'll do the Friday the 13th movie I worked on, the reboot from, I think, 2008. Because it was fun. I had a great time. I was exhausted working my full-time job and doing that at night. And those moments at night was just so fun. It was interesting because every time I was on set, I was a stand-in for Jason Voorhees on that film, which meant if I'm on set, Jason is on set. We're filming a Jason scene. I don't just show up, any other time because I was a stand-in, which for me meant I did almost nothing. But it was just so much fun to be on set those days when I know that something's going down, even if it's just him stalking through the woods. Like it was going to be a really fun moment, and the energy on set I think was probably a little bit different. But I don't know. Being on set, you can't replace it. And if you've never been on set before, I recommend it. Even if you go as a stand or as an extra, just go be an extra on set one day and have fun and, eat some snacks if they give them to you, and just see, I don't know, what the vibe is, what the energy is, and prepare to be treated like an idiot. Extras get treated like children. It's so funny. And if you approach it that way as like a humorous, like they're going to treat me like I don't know how to stand, like this is my first time walking, you'll have a really fun time because it's so demeaning. But if you appreciate, like, they're just trying to make sure, because extras also do a lot of stupid shit. And so they kind of have to do that. But it's really, have you done extra work before? Or have you only ever been on set mostly as like an actor, talent?
Oh, no. Yeah. I did plenty of extra work. I got to meet, oh my gosh. Why am I blanking? Walker, Texas Ranger.
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris. Yeah, I got to meet Chuck Norris. Yeah. I floated.
Whoa.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was a beer commercial. I'm still friends with a couple of the guys that was on set with, whatever. But yeah, got to meet a super nice guy. Like, purposefully came over to the group of like 20 of us and shook all of our hands. It was like, hey, it's great to meet you. Thanks for being on set. And it was a awesome. I think I saw it out in the wild at one point. He like karate chops an orange and it turns into something. I don't know. It was like a crazy play on his jokes, the Chuck Norris jokes. It was fun.
Oh,
but yeah, I've done plenty of extra work. Yeah.
So much fun. Nice. Yeah, I don't know that there's a great segue here, but what are we covering today, man?
Today we are covering The Long Walk, which recently came out in theaters, I think last week. So if you haven't seen the film, please pause this episode and go watch it because we're going to spoil all the things. Yeah,
we'll dive into some things. Definitely talk on some of the story and writing, some themes, and I don't know, and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. A group of teenage boys Sorry, let me start over. Quick synopsis of the film. A group of teenage boys compete in an annual contest known as the Long Walk, in which they must maintain a certain walking speed or get shot. It's directed by Francis Lawrence, screenplay by J.T. Mollner, based on the novel by Stephen King, cinematography by Joe Willems. It's featuring Cooper Hoffman as Raymond Garraty, number 47, David Jonsson as Peter McVries, I forgot his name, number 23, Garrett Wareing as Stebbins, Tut Nyot as Art Baker, Charlie Plummer as Barkovich, Ben Wang as Olson, Mark Hammill as the Major, which I didn't spot, Judy Greer as Ginnie Garraty.
Well done, Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Harkness.
Hey, Harkness.
You're Ray Garraty, hometown boy, number 47.
Yeah.
McVries, strong, 23. Suppose you're wondering why I'm writing down everybody's names and numbers.
No, actually, I wasn't wondering. Maybe because you were the squads.
Me? No. I'm writing a book, you see? A book about the Long Walk.
I see that.
Yeah. A book about the Long Walk from the insider's point of view? Make me rich.
Oh, if you win, you won't need a book to make you rich.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose not, but still make one heck of an interesting book, I think.
Warning, number 7.
Fucking Charlie horse! Oh.
Warning, number 7.
All right, Curly.
Okay.
Just keep it slow, just fast enough and steady, okay? All right? Come on, put your weight on. Put your weight on.
Got it, boy.
Fucking around, keep it moving.
You're gonna keep walking. Listen to the beat, okay? Keep walking. You're with us. You're with us.
Come on, keep walking. Keep walking. That's right. That's right. We out here in the sunshine, just having fun.
You're gonna be all right, okay?
She's loosening now.
Okay, good. Okay, good. All right. See this? You gotta promise me that you're gonna keep walking. You promise? All right?
Okay.
All right, you okay, right? You're all right. Come on. Come on, stick with me. Stick with me.
Yeah, that's it.
Stick with me.
That's it, kid.
Stick with me. We're right on pace. We're right on pace. Stick with me, okay? Just keep walking.
That's right.
Just keep walking.
1, 2,
Curly.
3, 4.
Just keep
You
walking.
got it. Come on, young.
Keep walking.
You got it.
We just gotta stay at this
We
pace.
good. Come on,
we
now.
just gotta stay at this
Come on,
pace.
boy, you got this, man.
Come on, Curly. Come on, Curly. It's just you and me. Come on. Come on, Curly.
Eyes up.
Come on, Curly.
Come on, young.
Come on, Curly. Come on. Come on, Curly. Come on.
You got it.
Warning, number 7. Third warning.
Get up, kid!
Get up, youngin. Get up.
Oh, but it ain't fair. No, it ain't fair. It ain't fucking fair.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not doing that today, but
Yeah. Thank you.
Dude, so I want to hear all the things, but you know what I really want to know? You think you could win the long walk, don't you?
Don't we all?
I don't. I would. I'm Curly. I'm absolutely going out within the first 10 miles.
No way.
If I have,
No way.
if I have time to prepare, like they all did, they're submitting. So I'm training year round for that. But the sleep is what's going to get me. I don't think I make it, bro. I think the sleep is what's going to take me out. And so, no, I honestly don't think I can win the long walk.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah.
You know, I think that everybody probably, or not everybody, but a lot of people probably do. But I think they do a good job in this film of like actually pointing out, like, sometimes you just can't prepare for things. Like you have a stomach bug, or you get a Charlie horse, or you get sick. You know, like, you know, you've trained. I don't know. I have a lot of experience here, like doing Ironman, and you prepare for 6, 7, 8 months, and then on the day you just can't predict what's going to happen. You know, you just can't. So, yeah. But I was sitting there watching, like, oh, I could totally, 100 miles. Okay, yeah, that'd be fun. Let's do this. I was feeling like that. So, yeah. So this film, I'll just say a couple of things. The first thing I will say is that I think it's really important, if you haven't, it's really important knowing where the story came from, because it's very easy to watch this film and say, oh, They ripped off Hunger Games.
Right.
No.
Yeah. No.
This was written in the 60s, okay?
79,
Like,
I think it was the published date.
It came out in 79, but he wrote it before then. He wrote it when he was in high school. Or maybe college or something like that. I don't know. He was still in school when he wrote it in the 60s, but it came out in like 79. So my point is, doesn't matter when it came out. Point is that it was way before Hunger Games, right? But it's important to know that it was written in this specific time because it's based on like it's based on Vietnam, right? And your feelings about Vietnam, hence them walking constantly. And if you know that, like even watching the scene that you showed, it feels like the way they're walking is like a march. You know, they're like marching together as a band of brothers that kind of likes each other sometimes, hates each other other times, whatever. But then they, you in all these marching, Vietnam movies that you see where the U.S. soldiers are marching, and then they look off and you see like a Vietnamese woman standing in the doorway, just watching them. And we see kind of like a version of that, only it's a woman standing at a church doorway, just watching. You can tell she's judging, but you don't know exactly like how she's judging. She's just like not cheering them on like they had anticipated would happen, right? They thought, oh, there'll be crowds. There were never crowds. There was every now and then there was a couple of people, but there were never crowds, which is very similar to the experience that our soldiers had during Vietnam. They thought they were doing the right thing, that back home would support them, but there were a lot of anti-war stuff, groups and everything. And anyway, so it was written at a time where Vietnam was happening or had just happened, and the reflections of supposed to be the reflections of the soldiers who are gone off to war and how the U.S. was treating them either while they were over there or when they came back, right? And if you look at it from that perspective, it's a totally different movie. Totally different. So basically what I'm saying is that I did not know that going into the movie. And so to me, I was watching it thinking, okay, I know that Stephen King wrote this, and maybe I'm sure he probably wouldn't have written this after Hunger Games, right? Because he's one of the greatest writers of all time, right? And he's not going to try to steal that idea, right? So it's had to be before that, but then, okay, now it looks like it's set in the 60s or 70s. Okay, that's interesting. They didn't have as good shoes back then, right? And so that's its own thing. The way that they're walking was kind of like almost weird. It was almost like they were strutting, like they were proud of this, right? And I'm like, why are they proud of this? They know they're going to die. Like they're, not all of them know that they're going to survive this. Like they have to know, maybe they all think that they could, but they're almost strutting like they're proud of it, and that's an interesting choice from a directing standpoint. Okay. All right. And then the way that they're acting, like their actual acting was like, like the Raymond, the way he was, I don't know, he's just kind of like had this swagger to him kind of thing or whatever. And it just didn't feel right if I didn't know the backstory of like when this was written, what it was about and everything. And then learning that afterwards, I'm like, oh, I totally understand it. And I get the decisions made and all that. The only thing that really bothered me in this movie, or one of the only things really, was like, it was dizzying watching the bouncing of them walking.
Oh, interesting.
My eye is trying, because like when someone's talking, you're trying to follow their mouth, you're trying to follow their eyes, you're following their facial features. So I am watching, so my eye is going like this, bouncing up and down, left and right as they're walking. And so after an hour of that, I'm just like, oh my God, my eyes are exhausted. And so I don't know how you get around that necessarily cinematography wise, maybe, since you're a DP yourself, but like that was the only thing was like really hard for me to visually deal with. But I think maybe that added to it as well. Just like I'm exhausted watching them become exhausted.
That's so interesting. I mean, that makes a lot of sense because I was picking up that they mostly stayed wider, and so that should help, your the issue that you're talking about, because they're moving through less of the frame the wider you are. And that allowed them to also pack the frame in with all the kids, these are young men. And so you have all these guys in the frame, and it allows you to stay, much more engaged and watch a lot of the frame without feeling, I guess, that as much exhaustion. And they saved a lot of those close-ups when they were trying to have these private conversations. Like there's, several moments between Ray and Pete, and they're able to okay, we'll move in tight here. And very rarely do we have any singles. And I thought whenever I was watching, I thought that was mostly just to give you a sense of when they're being quieter and when this conversation is more personal versus when it isn't, which is normal. In a movie, you normally see people talking really loud. Like if you watch Only Murders in the Building, like there's a scene with, 50 other people in the room, and you have, Steve Martin and Martin Short just yelling basically, but they're saying things that if other people could actually hear them, it would draw a lot of attention. But you understand, because of the frame is tighter and it's just them, we're really not, everyone else can't actually hear what's going on. And so that's a very common use. But I think the thing that you're talking about also plays heavily into Francis Lawrence's an OG at this point. He's done so many films, including Hunger Games. And so I can imagine he already was aware of visually, what are the things we're going to be running into making a movie where there's nonstop walking, resetting, all kinds of things that, on a practical level you have to think about. But I bet that was another big conversation they were having about the viewer's eyes, and therefore cutting less. There's a lot of long takes, where you're going to sit in this moment for, 2-3 minutes. And therefore the performances really get to evolve, and you better just bring your A game, but also throw it away. That's a hard thing to do. Really, make sure you're on your money, but also don't be precious. Well, we're going to take whatever works for everyone, but yeah, I don't know. That's the way I interpreted it, but it sounds like it still paid a really heavy cost for you.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched it, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the story. I kind of knew what the gist was, but I tried to let go a lot of I've seen this before, because I knew this is pre Hunger Games, right? So, but knowing that it was an allegory for the Vietnam War, I didn't know that. Right. And that would have been really valuable for me going into the film to know that. But the way that we watch these movies, right, we just go in and we see, does it convey? Yeah. And it did, but I didn't know the Vietnam aspect. I knew it's set in the 60s. I knew it's kind of dystopian, situation, and that they're submitting their, to do this walk. I kind of knew that, but I didn't really get the Vietnam part. And so because of that, and that's fine. Cause what are they going to say, Vietnam? Right. No, they're not. Cause this is not reality. This didn't really happen. So they're not going to say that Vietnam happened. So, so I think it's okay, but it would have been good for me. I would have watched it a little bit differently, but knowing it now, it just makes it so much better. Right. I really love, David Jonsson's performance of Peter. It's so freaking good. I mean, I think that Cooper Hoffman did a great job too. Cause especially knowing all of this, it also feels like almost an homage to, Vietnam era films, I saw a good aspect of, Full Metal Jacket in there, and of of other Vietnam era, like military films.
It's so funny.
I saw homages to those.
I felt the exact same way. There's that moment when they sing Clementine towards the end, and I was like, this is Full Metal Jacket, because they're walking by this burning car. And if you've seen Full Metal Jacket, there's an amazing moment when they start singing Mickey Mouse, Mickey, and my father called it something like a decompression song or something like that. And, he served or whatever. And so watching that, it felt like this, it's not a decompression song, but it's something along those lines that you're there to try to alleviate all the stress. It's, you're trying to expel, all your stress through this moment of singing together and, a silly song, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're great. You're great. So anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed it from that perspective. I do know that they changed the ending. So in the ending of the book, Raymond wins, Garraty wins. But then he kind of just like it's kind of indecisive. He kind of like goes delirious, and then there's no real ending
Stephen
to
King,
it,
man.
right?
Yeah,
right,
tracks.
exactly. He's just kind of like goes insane or whatever, and like you never really know what happens. So what I like the change, right? He sacrificed because it feels the whole time feels like Raymond he's the leader. You know what I mean? It felt like he was the leader of everybody, even though he wasn't, and people hated him, and some people hated him, but like he and Peter were like the, together guys, but Raymond was the leader. And so what does a leader do? A leader sacrifices himself for others. And so it kind of felt like that would happen, but then it was great for Peter to be supporting Raymond and like holding him up also. So Peter feels like the leader, Raymond feels like the leader, but then Peter at some point holds Raymond up when Raymond is so tired and he can't go, and Peter just like drags him for a little while. And so they're helping each other. And so you kind of are not sure what's going to happen. Maybe Peter's going to sacrifice himself for Raymond, without Raymond knowing. But then Raymond does it. Right. And I think it's a really great statement because Raymond wanted to win so that he could kill the major. And Peter was saying, that's not a good idea because, vengeance never gets you anywhere, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, Peter becomes so he's so endeared with Raymond and loves him so much that he wants to honor him and is so mad that this happened and that he follows through with what Raymond wanted to do in the first place, which is kill the major. Right. I also think that it's important to know the whole Vietnam thing. And I'll say this and I'll stop talking because of the very end, he shoots the major and then just walks off into the rain. Like nobody tackles him or jumps on him or anything like that. It is just now he's living with this. He is now going out into the world, living with the fact that he has killed himself. He has killed his own version of what he thought was good in the world. And he has to live with that. I think that is so important. And because watching it without that, I'm like, why doesn't anybody tackle him? Why does he, I just didn't get it. And the moment I saw this whole kind of, comparing to Vietnam, I understood all of it. Everything, every little bit. And every time I go back and think, oh yeah, remember this? Oh, I totally get it, because it's a version of Vietnam. Then it makes complete sense. So yeah, with that in mind, I want to see it again. And I think that I'll like it even more, but I already really liked it. I thought it was super enjoyable.
Wow. Yeah, I loved it. I went in not knowing what exactly to expect in terms of how brutal it's going to be. You assume it's going to be not good, obviously, but I didn't know to what extent. And I love that, they set the tone right away. We're going to kill the youngest one, who's probably not even 16. And we're going to shoot him in the face and you're going to watch it. And that's the movie. And then title. They wait until that moment to reveal the title, right? So if you're not good with that, then you should absolutely stop now. Because this is how we open. That's setting the tone. This is how we're going to set the tone. And from there I was like, okay, yeah, we're not blinking. We're not shying away from the violence. This isn't a safe film. this isn't PG-13. And I loved it for that. And I was hoping, and I got it, I was hoping for great camaraderie, which you obviously get through, you know, Ray and Pete. What I didn't expect was to get the other two Musketeers, Olson and Baker. And I loved them all. I loved everyone in this film. Like, even Barkovich, you know, I found a way to end up loving him, which this... there's something Stephen King does that is just always remarkable, because he does so much silly stuff. And yet his character work is always just the best. He really knows how to write engaging, gripping characters. He knows how to build relationships between characters. And I assume all that translated from the book. I'm glad. That makes so much sense, what you said about the ending. Stephen King is not known for his endings. Well, not in a good way, I should say.
Yeah.
He's always doing just weird, quirky things. And he finds a way, like the idea of getting your ticket. That's so Stephen King. And yet it feels toned down. I don't know what's in the book. I put it on my reading list, but I assume it's even cornier and quirkier than just getting your ticket, because that becomes their code for you're going to get killed. Like, you're buying the farm, you're punching out, right? And they call it getting your ticket. And that's very... King just always has these weird turns of phrases that he incorporates in a way that is logical while you're reading it. Like, of course, in the book, that's what they say. And it only ever gets like weirder and weirder. The more Stephen King went on to write, the more he just, I guess, ran out of organic, quirky things and became just like, what's the silliest version of an inside joke that I can write between characters? I'm going to do that and double down. And this film, I just really fell in love with everyone's friendship, because as Pete says early on, he's like, you're not supposed to make friends on the walk. That's what they say. But you know what? I kind of like you guys. And I've been jonesing for more David Jonsson ever since Romulus, Alien Romulus. And I've just been waiting for... And so really, as much as this had Stephen King's name on it and his stamp, right? You got a bunch of kids walking together. I keep saying kids because I keep thinking of Stand By Me. These are young men. These are not children.
Yeah.
But this feels very Stand By Me. And that was drawing me. But really, I came to see David Jonsson do his thing. And
yeah, man,
I loved it. Like, I think his accent was a little shaky. Like, I don't know about his accent. But his performance, even despite that, great. God, like, you feel the genuine warmth coming from him. And connecting with these other guys. And I thought Cooper Hoffman, that I was just in love with him, man. I thought he was just so good. And I love seeing that kind of character. Like, he doesn't have a hero's build, you know, and yet, you know, you see it. So you see him show up and you're like, I know I'm supposed to be rooting for him because we meet his mom. And therefore, like, you're assuming this guy is going to be the one to make it, which also makes me assume he's the perfect one to kill.
Yeah.
And so I started the film thinking, we got to kill him off, right? But then the more the film wore on, it really started to like bring up some great contrast of like, we want to see him realize his wish. What happens if he gets that gun? That becomes they're loading the gun. And we got to see it go off. They're raising a question that we need to see an answer to, you know, and what's going to happen. Therefore, he's got to be the one who gets his wish. And yet they raise another great question, which is, can you have two winners? And that becomes like, ooh, I really want to see that one. And that's a beautiful, like, contrast. Like, I don't know the answer. Like, who gets to have their wish? And I love that because it sets up the impossible position to put the audience in. Like, what do we want? What do we want to see more? Do we want to see two people win? Or do we want to see what happens when he gets that gun? And then you give us even more reason to want those things because we fall in love with their friendship. And we're seeing Pete, who is just unstoppable. That dude, unstoppable, unflappable. Like, that guy, he doesn't have a hat. He doesn't slow down for a second. He's lean. So he's not, carrying very much baggage with him. And he's got nothing to lose. He's got no family waiting on him. And so you hear his story, but then you also see how much Ray really needs that one. It means more to him because he's really got something to fight for. He does have something to live for. He's got his mom. He's got, passion, right? Because his dad was killed. And so now you're giving us these two halves and we're like, I don't know which one I want more. Like, I love Pete who's going back on what he knows he should be doing. He should be doing this for himself. And yet he saved Ray how many times now? Like that grade, that scene when they hit that steep grade, man, because right before then, Ray and Pete have a fight. Well, Ray has a fight with Pete. Pete has no fight with Ray. Ray is having a fight with him. And he's got his 3 warnings. And so he can't slow down, not for 1 second, or else that he gets his ticket. And yet we're watching Ray push him away and go off on his own. And Pete's like, hey, whatever, man. You do you. And then Pete comes to his rescue as we're watching just men get slaughtered left and right. And it's amazing. Like, it's the tension there. And that's the brilliance of this setup. This whole movie is set up with nothing but tension right from the beginning. Because I walked in assuming you just can't fall behind. And so I'm thinking coming in, all you need to do is get a nice head start, and then you just take a break. And when they hand them those watches, that's showing you your speed. And then they're saying, it's not whether you fall behind. You have to keep pace. It's 3 miles an hour or bust. And that means you can't get far enough ahead. And then you get a warning, but now it takes an hour to wipe that off. So now every time people slow down, it's free tension. Any pause, any turning around, any stumble, all of that comes with tension. Hearing the speaker, the PA system screaming at you, warning, number 45. Like, that's just nothing but tension. And then the deeper you get into this, like, the more tension, you get. Like, these guys are tired. If you've ever stayed up 24 hours straight, you already know the delirium that you begin to experience. Like, after 48 hours, it's impossible. And so you start sleeping on your feet, doing all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know that I buy that necessarily, but also I have no idea. I've never done anything remotely close to that. I don't know if you can sleep on your feet or not. My assumption is it's not possible, but I also have no freaking clue. So I'm just going with it. And then you have the 4 Musketeers. You want everyone together. And then you see Olson look at his gum. This gum that he's going to take with him the whole way. Like, it's, and I just really love Olson. That kid is just hilarious. And you're going with him, and you see him like suddenly look at his gum like it's lost its flavor. And then that's the end for him. And he stops, he falls, he gets popped, but they're not executing him. And then you have Baker, who turns around and goes back for Olson. You're like, oh God, no, we're going to lose Baker and Olson at the same time. Not like this. And then you have Ray, who turns around to go after Baker. And so all of that just ramps up the tension as, then you have Pete at the front screaming for everyone. And you have guns, and it's pitch black. And so all you have is like torchlight. The flashlights, illuminate everything. And so the contrast is just ramping it up because you have all this hard light that's creating this black or white, death and life kind of vibe. And it's just brilliant, man. I was just in love with the simplicity of this concept and how just tweaking a few rules made you feel like you literally cannot stop walking. There is no way to cheat the system here. It's
not only can you not stop walking, but you can't really help anybody too much. You can help people a little bit, like Ray going back and grabbing Olson or
Curly at the beginning.
Curly, yeah, going that like you just said. You can do that for a second, but if he didn't come with you, you got to keep going. You have to leave him behind. Even the clip you showed, Ray was really trying to help the kid, and he was a kid,
Yeah.
really trying to help him, but he could only help him so much. He couldn't slow down. And you have to, you're right, that rule of you can't go slower than this, it changes everything. You know, it's not you can't stop. It's that you can't go slowly. You know, like, wow.
And that metaphor is so powerful, whether you're talking about, you know, the war, which is so pertinent, or just life and sometimes how it feels in life that, you know, you're losing things left and right and you have to make a decision. Do I stop now and die, or do I keep forging a path ahead? And there's something, and I know there's other elements that people in our modern society are going to take away from this. God, it's brutal because in war, that I have no idea, but I assume that feels right, especially in a war like Vietnam, where you just don't know where your enemy's coming from, your enemy, you know, the Viet Cong. And it's just, those guys are out there together and all they have is each other, and they're finding ways to keep going, to keep, you know, moving forward. And someone falls, you do what you can, and it never feels like enough. And then, yeah, you get home, and not only are you not welcomed back, but you're demonized by so many people in society. And you're just like, I didn't even feel like I had a choice, right? Because this whole movie opens on the congratulations letter, which establishes so much. One, that this universe is parallel to our own. Cool. Okay, so we're no longer really in our time. We're in some other time-ish. Okay, and now there's this aspect of the voluntary nature of the walk. It's establishing that. And there's also this kind of sick cheerfulness to it. Like they're celebrating it, like, congratulations. And it's just like, what? I'm probably going to die. And the conversations they're having in this movie, especially early on, is about how everyone volunteers, and yet no one signs up really. And they're talking about the draft, this idea that you can volunteer or you can be forced into it. And so it never really felt like a choice. If everyone is signing up, then is anyone really making a decision to do it willfully? That seems like this pressure the society's putting on you, which I find really fascinating when juxtaposed against this Fahrenheit 451 aspect that is, you know, being touched on pretty lightly. Every character, books are so thoroughly impressed through this movie, and I love it for that. I think that's one of those easy things to lose in this kind of movie, to not get too in the weeds of like intellectualism and just play the horror. But hats off to J.T. Mollner and Francis Lawrence for keeping these elements. So let's, you know, touch on some of these books. First, the most obvious, you have Art Baker, who's a Christian, reads the Bible, very fascinating. And he has this wish to go to the moon, which is pretty cool. This is still of the 60s era of like going to the moon. You have Olson, who clearly reads fantasy and pleasure reads, right? Because he corrects Pete about this whole idea about Sinbad, you know, the 7 Seas, and then also mixing it, conflating it with Treasure Island. And so he clearly likes to read, you know, fun books for himself. He also has a wish to have 10 naked ladies, which Pete is like, that's terrible. What are you doing? You're going to have money. He's like, yeah, I don't want to have to pay for it, but someone's going to pay for it. Oh, yeah, I guess you're kind of right. That is a dumb wish. And then you have Pete, who himself invokes the 3 Musketeers, which is all about, you know, all for one, one for all. And so it's getting everyone on the same page of we're in this together. We're rooting for each other. We're not rooting against each other. Treasure Island, of course, has this idea of finding a buried treasure and, you know, your friends become your enemies. And I don't know, there's something really interesting in that. And then Ray is the most interesting one. One, his name, and there seems to be some naming conventions here. Art, I would imagine, as a reference to like Arthur Miller, famous playwright. And who knows what the other ones are. But Ray, I assume, is either a reference to Raymond Chandler or maybe more apropos, Ray Bradbury, right? Author of Fahrenheit 451. And I think it's that because in the flashback, we understand that his dad was killed for teaching him banned materials, right? He was executed for it. And Fahrenheit 451 is all about burning books, right? You have firemen who aren't there to put out fires. They're there to create fires around literature that's dangerous, right? And so you're not allowed to read because reading is dangerous. It gets thoughts into your head, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to question authority, which this movie being a representation of Vietnam, sending people to their deaths. You're not allowed to question the war. You're there to support the war. Very fascinating. And I think I couldn't quite get it. This is where we had to watch it in the movie theater. Eventually we can pause it and frame by frame and revisit some of these conversations. But in that flashback, when his dad gets killed, I think their house address might've been 451. It was very brief. It was in and out of the frame. So I couldn't tell, but it looked like it might've been 451. And which, I love numbers and when they pop up in films. But another interesting aspect of that is the books that Ray was talking about, his dad let him read. And I don't remember them all, but he did mention Camus, who wrote this book called The Stranger, right? And The Stranger is this really quirky, brutal exploration of like existentialist meaninglessness of life and the oppressive nature of like social expectations, which is very relevant to The Long Walk as much as to war and Vietnam draft. And so it's like, what do you do whenever society expects you as a young man to go die for your country in some other land, fighting a war against people who don't care about you? And I mean that in a good way. Like why is America here? What are y'all doing here? Like, we don't have anything to say about, like, get away. We're just trying to, and this gets into domino theory and all kinds of post-World War II stuff. It's really fascinating, the ideas that are just subtly there if you want to think about them. And if not, that's fine too. This movie plays so well as just a fun, escapist, brutal horror film. Like, I love it for that. But the thing that I really love is what you were talking about who dies, and Ray dies for Pete. And that's so interesting because Ray wanted Pete to win because I think, so they both had their own ideas, right? Pete was wanting revenge. He wanted to kill someone. Or Ray wanted revenge. He wanted to kill someone. Pete, what was his wish? He wanted there to be two winners, someone that you could share with. That's so cool. Ray wanted the gun, the carbine, so that, he could kill someone, take life. And Pete was really trying to talk Ray out of it. Like, man, revenge is not enough. Vengeance isn't enough. And he's talking about having something to live on, to create meaning. And it circles around this conversation that Pete is just starting to just get fed up as he's talking about, this walk and society. And he's pointing out this family, these women sitting down to lunch by the roadside. And he's like, look at those pigs. They just want to see our blood splattered all over the place, like hoping to watch us die. And Pete looks at the same exact scene. He just sees a family. He's like, I just see people. You're trying to create a world that's better, but you're not seeing the things that are worth living for. How does that jibe? And that's such a beautiful idea because as Ray is talking about his past and his dad dying, Pete points out that your dad chose to leave, which is a really fascinating way to interpret that. Because what Ray eventually realizes is he did the same thing. And that's what he says when he realizes, I chose to go on this walk. I did the same thing my dad did. I chose to leave my mom. And that's not great. Why did I do that? And he's trying to reevaluate doing the thing my dad did, which looks noble, but also didn't necessarily have to be. And it's very complex, and it's a really interesting conversation to go down when you're talking about war and the way that our society values war is so perverse, because we look at things that we did that were great, like World War II. We've talked about a million times on the show, being this thing that America really values and trumpets and, is always celebrating what we did in the Second World War, and how much kind of evil stuff came after that. Like, how many wars have we? And so this movie is invoking a lot of really interesting conversations about how we've inherited these mentalities, instead of maybe just taking a minute to explore what are we living for? What are we doing these things for? And I think the way that this movie ends is so beautiful, because it's the impossible situation. And from the beginning, there's that great exchange between Ray and Pete, where that Curly dies, and they have that conversation. Like, Pete says, "I hope that gets easier." And Ray shoots back, "That's what I'm afraid of." Like, we don't want losing people to become easy, and yet that's what they signed up for. And so you get to the end of the film, and Pete is done. He sits down. He's like, "No, you take it, man. This was great. And I don't have much." And finally, Ray saves him. Walk just a little bit further. What a great moment, because the rain is hiding his footsteps, and he stops moments after he starts walking again, because he's not going to give him another chance to sit down. And then he stops, and you hear the gunshot, and it's just what a great, well-constructed sequence. And I love it so much because Ray wanted Pete to win because he changed his outlook on life. He died because he changed. His original wish was to enact change through killing, right? That was his whole idea. It's like, I'm not saying I'm going to change the rules. I'm not going to change the walk. What I'm saying is that my wish could lead to change. It could enact something. And instead, what he ends up doing is he chooses to enact change through giving someone else life. What a great 180. What a great reason to die. And that was what I was looking for whenever I fell in love with both of these characters. I was looking for the poetry. Where's the poetry in making this feel right? And so that was what it made feel right. It's like he really changed his outlook on life, and that gave us permission to allow him to die, even though we have so many reasons to want him to live. And it also gave permission to Pete to carry out his wish and give us the answer, what happens when he gets the gun. And so we got to see that completion, and we also got to hope for change. And it also comes back to that exact idea that you had. He keeps walking, which is the only way this movie can end. He keeps walking. He is a dead man walking. His life did stop there, but maybe he's the last one to keep walking. Maybe from now on, we don't have to have this, the society that allows for people to just sign up for death. I don't know. But that was kind of what I took away from that whole living for love versus living for revenge. Maybe Pete can still go on and find that place in him that allows for love and enjoying the moments. But for him, I think that was the last moment. He was just going to keep living in this moment. And he's maybe just continue. The interpretation is there for whatever you want. And it's such a cool way to end it.
Which is great, which is what we want when we go to movies. We don't want it handed to us, right? We talk all the time about like exposition and how much we freaking hate it. Yeah. Don't give me everything. Make me work for it. Make me think about things. Yeah. Oh. Great point.
So what do you think about all that, man? Do you think, love versus revenge and allowing Pete to use the gun out of love still maintains his character's integrity? Is that what it is?
It doesn't seem like it to me.
Okay.
It's to me, I mean, just maybe it's just the way that he did it. You know what I mean? Like he was distraught at the end there. He was distraught because Ray was dead because they killed Ray, at the whole situation. And you know, I could see in his face that the distraughtness when he was aiming the gun at the major and when he pulled the trigger, and his distraughtness after, right? It wasn't like I've fulfilled my friend's wish and now I can go live my life. Yeah. Like, that's not the vibe I got. I don't think that you got either. No. It was him walking off as like you said, a dead man walking. You know, he had his life before this and now his life after. And I don't mean the walk, his life before he killed the major and after he killed the major. Like, that was the line, you know? And, I especially, man, if you look at it with the lens of Vietnam as the metaphor, it's just so, I mean, what a brutal war, right? In all the ways, you know, and you have the before and you have the after. The actual being in the war is not what kills you or changes you. It's the killing of other people that changes you. And then it getting easier, you know, changes you. And then realizing that it was for nothing, that everybody was dying for nothing, and that killing for nothing. I mean, that is the thing also, like, that represents, I think, Pete pulling the trigger, not his walking, not his wanting to sacrifice himself for Ray, like, you know, not his feeling, you know, like terrible that all of his, you know, co-walkers are dead. It is literally the pulling the trigger. And then him walking off alone in the rain, in the dark, like, the fact that it's dark, the fact that it's raining, the fact that nobody is coming to either, you quote unquote metaphorically save him or tackle him or stop him. Nope. No, here you go. Thanks for your service. Go have a life.
Wow.
Yeah, enjoy it. Like, how can you expect someone who you've totally effed up in their mind and the way that they think and process things to, like, go back? It's like somebody who's been in prison for their entire life for 60 years and then getting out. Like, they kill themselves a lot of times because they don't know how to live outside of that. Like, you know, I feel like that's kind of like a metaphor here. He's going off into his death. Like, how is he going to live in a world now where he is not himself anymore? You know? Anyway, yeah, it's a pretty bleak ending for me.
You know what I also really love about the way they made this was everyone mostly dies with a headshot. Like, this is the kind of movie you could walk in expecting to celebrate the death, right? That we're going to make a bunch of cool kills. They do not make any cool kills in this movie. It's brutal and it's, like, systematic. Like, we're just here to execute people. And so we never get into it. We never get into the gore. This isn't gore porn. This isn't about, like, enjoying any of the death, which you could mistake this for that kind of movie. Instead, it's trying to make you horrified at the mundanity of it. Like, these soldiers are just taking these guys out. And that's that. And we're moving on. Who's next? And that, to me, is communicating so much of what you're talking about regarding the Vietnam War and the brutality of it and the dehumanization of it. Because no one has a chance. Like, even the one guy, Kali, who grabs a gun and starts going to work, even he stops fighting and he's just like, turns the gun on himself. He's like, I'm not going to let you do that to me. I'm going to do it to myself. Pulls his own trigger. Like, there's so much to be mined in this film, and I really love it for being what it is instead of trying to go to the audience. You know, and I think that's a mistake a lot of filmmakers make, is we're going to make a horror film and we're going to make it fun instead of making it thoughtful. And this, I think that's what surprised me the most about this movie, is how much thought really is behind it.
Man, well said. Well said. And it just and leaves it to you. Yeah, we've said it before, but just leaves it to you to make your decision of what you think there. Like, I don't know. This is why we love movies for stuff like that, you know, and hidden stuff that they don't spend 20 minutes explaining everything at the beginning, explaining or like even pointing out the idea of Vietnam. They just say the war, since the war, you know, and what does that mean? I mean, we're in the 60s, I guess, 70s, whatever. We don't really know what time, but I think it's like, seems like the 60s, you know, but they didn't mention Vietnam. So I don't know, but they don't give you everything. They give you little nuggets and you can pull from it what you want. And I just love that, because then you're sitting there thinking about it afterwards, and we have this conversation about like, what did you think about this? And what do you think? Oh, I thought this. Oh, really? Because I thought that. And I mean, that's the whole point, right? I mean, books, the best books in the world of all time don't give you everything. They leave you with the questions. They leave you with the what does your buddy think of this? I know what you think now, but what does your buddy think? Well, go talk to him about it. Like, it's the best. It's the best. It's the what's in the suitcase Pulp Fiction situation, you know, like, don't tell me, you know, make it lore forever. You know, it's great.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. What are you going to recommend this week?
So recently I started watching this new show on HBO called Task, which I don't know if you've seen it yet, but we're only 2 episodes in, and I'm absolutely in love with this show. I just love it. What's his name?
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, I was like, not Mark Hamill. We just saw a thing with Mark Hamill. Mark Ruffalo is in it, and he's fantastic. And who's the guy? The other guy, I forget his name, but with the beard.
No idea.
I've seen him in other things. I know he's a major actor, but anyway, just really, really interesting story. Kind of like you think you know what's going on, but you really don't, and everybody's motivated by certain things, and you kind of get it, and it's great. Each episode comes out every Sunday night, so there should be a episode 3 coming out tonight. So be really excited about that. But anyway, I'm really enjoying it. So Task.
Dude, well done. I am struggling. Oh, I didn't pick my thing, but I'm going to go with Foundation on Apple TV. I don't think we've okay, no. You recommended Founder, but not Foundation. Foundation, I'm really enjoying this series. It's on Apple TV. It's based on an Asimov book, I believe. I haven't read the book. But I'm just really impressed with the level of thought and the patience in the storytelling, and the world building. From what I understand, it really expands what the novel has in really interesting ways. And so I am just really loving, I don't know, that I don't know where it's going. And I am fully surprised. And I don't know, if you like high-minded science fiction and you have patience, it's not something you're going to binge watch. Like, don't do that to yourself. But if you just watch like one episode every 4 or 5 days, it'll eventually start to snowball a little bit and send you down some really interesting paths. And I love Jared Harris. I just think he is so compelling. And I wish he was in more stuff. But yeah, kind of like Mark Hamill, like he disappears into his roles. And I kind of just want to talk about this cast, because
I was like, I recognize this guy. Who is this guy? Who's the major? I don't know. And then I read the list that you wrote, and I was like, holy crap, that is Mark Hamill. Oh my God.
He's so good. I'm always really impressed with women, because I think there's so many more talented women actresses out there than guys. And I'm always like, oh, I would love to work with her. I'd love to work with her. But I just never find that many guys that I'm excited about. Like there's Jake Rayner and Mamadou Athey, and obviously Winston Duke after 9 days, and a handful of others, but I never find that many like really unknown actors. And watching this movie, I was just like, everyone is freaking incredible. Like there's not a whack performance in here. Even Curly, he's in there for like 2 scenes, and I'm just gripped. Like, I don't want this kid to die. And he's finding these little moments to really explore his life and death. And I'm just so impressed with the casting of this movie. And Cooper Hoffman, I love him more in this than I did in Licorice Pizza. Like, I just thought he was just lights out. I was so impressed. And I'm I'm loving everyone in this movie, and I can't like Tut Nyot, or I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Tut, great. Like, holy crap, everyone. Ben Wang, like, bring it. All of these guys, even in a movie together again, I'll take it. Like, I hope they all go on.
I totally agree. And my favorite moment in the whole film is Judy Greer when she says goodbye to him. I cried. I'm in the theater and my eyes are welling up with tears because I get it, man. You know, like she's literally sending her son off to die and she's just like, no, don't go. In that last moment, you know, they're silent driving this is at the very beginning of the movie, you know? And when I love Judy Greer, I really do. I think she's amazing. Some of the films she picks, I'm like, hit or miss, but her performances are always really good.
Yep.
This moment for me, is like one of my favorite moments that she's ever done on screen. I'm sure there's plenty others, but I could bring up, but I can't think of them right now. But that was just gut-wrenchingly beautiful.
It sells the whole movie. Yeah. Like, if you don't have her doing that, then we care a little bit less and we're less invested. But starting there, we're like, we get it. This is intense. God.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So good.
So stay tuned for next week. We're going to dive into the new PTA. I'm loving it. We've been doing a lot of PTA recently. Like, we've done Magnolia from, Request, of course. And then we did Daniel Plainview.
He'll be.
And Phantom Thread. And so now we're going to take a look at One Battle After Another. So excited to see what that's about. I have no idea. And so that'll be either.
I hear really good things.
Okay, good. Because it's either going to be awesome or terrible. I don't know that it's going to live in between. And if you're enjoying the show, don't forget, subscribe, drop us a review, leave us a note, something you want us to talk about. And if you want to comment on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/thelongwalk.
And our quote of the day is from Ray Bradbury. You don't have to burn books to destroy a culture. Just get people to stop reading them. Beautiful.
As much as I love movies and TV, there's this trend going more towards films not like The Long Walk, that don't ask anything of you, that don't try to put anything deeper beneath the surface. And so I really love this movie for that, but most movies aren't that. And look, we'll do the occasional Marvel film because there's a place for popcorn. You know, there's a place to just have a good time and show up and be entertained. But what I think is really disturbing to me is, now look, Ray may be fine. He's biased because he's an author. He writes novels. And then he was also living in a time where you couldn't go to a Blockbuster, you know, and let alone a time where Blockbusters have become obsolete because of how much access we have to content. And yet, I don't think that nullifies what he's talking about. I think what books do are even people, I run across people who say they read books, and what they actually say is they listen to them, to books on audio. And hey, that's cool. If you want to do that, that's cool, but it's not the same. Don't fool yourself into thinking listening to a book on tape is the same thing as reading a book. It does not ask, because if you're reading, you're having to paint these voices the way you need to imagine them, and you're painting your own universe. And if you blank for a moment, you need to go back and reread that paragraph. If you blank for a moment with a book on tape, you're not rewinding. You're just, the book is continuing. The reader is reading, regardless of if you're listening or not. Like, books do require more of you than movies, than TV, than stuff on tape, podcasts like our own, even though I think we ask something of our listeners as well. And therefore we respect you guys, men and women. But at the same time, books are really requiring more of you. Even the schlocky ones are going to require more of you than maybe a thoughtful movie. And I have a lot of respect, and I think he's saying something right here, where you can destroy a culture through just people not even wanting to pick up a book. Like, and we've gotten very complacent in our literary, aspirations here. Because even our writing pros, like, if I were to write a book, it would not be on the same level as Raymond Chandler or Ray Bradbury, let alone, from a Bronte, or any other, classic author. Like, if you just go look at a paragraph, any paragraph, from the modern day Prometheus, Frankenstein, and compare that to any paragraph in a Stephen King novel, and he's, a great writer, the amount that we're asking even of our readers has cheapened. Like, man, I read Wuthering Heights and was just like, oh my God, a paragraph felt like a chapter, and a chapter felt like a novel. The novel felt like a tome. Like, she demanded a lot of me as a reader, and we're just not demanding that much of people anymore. And it's leading to a lot of lazy, intellectually bankrupt people. And it makes it really hard to have interesting conversations, even if you don't change someone's mind. There was a time whenever you knew that people would just listen and entertain your idea. Even if you didn't believe your own idea, you could just entertain, devil's advocate, all kinds of, and we're just losing all that depth in our culture.
Why do you think that is?
Same reason people don't cook at home. It's just, whenever you have the ability to go pick up food or to order in, I'm blown away by how much people favor Uber Eats their meals. Like, I really had no idea. I cook like 95% of my own food. Like, I make my stuff at home. Even if I'm on a diet and I need something like low calorie, I'm probably still making it. Even if I'm treating myself, I'm still going to make it. Like, I'll go get a nice steak and I'll figure out how to cook it. I'll get a cast iron pan. How do you make a good steak? And I'll YouTube it and teach myself that skill. People, it's just becomes so much easier. And people were lazy. People are lazy. And I don't mean that as a pejorative against humanity. That's just the way we've always been. Even during hunter-gatherer times, like, there was a certain amount of laziness that was in us because you conserve energy. And we know we need to do things that make living tomorrow easier and more certain. And so inertia is a bastard to overcome. And so I think it's just inertia. It's ingrained in our DNA. And if you don't challenge yourself, you ran crazy marathons after other marathons. like a triathlon is like, it is the long walk. It's like torture. It is pure torture. And you're competing, and like, how to overcome your own inertia, for a lot of things. Maybe not everything. I don't know your life, but physically, you sure as hell do more than I ever will. And I don't know, like, what do you think? What do you think is leading to this lazy intellectualism?
Oh man, I think you're not wrong. I mean, if I have to put it on one thing, I'm going to say phones, but I blame phones for a lot of things. And that doesn't mean that I'm not a part of that. I have a smartphone, like I have an iPhone and everything, but just because everything that you're talking about leads back to this device. How do you order Uber Eats? With your phone. How do you, like, watch porn because you can't get a girlfriend on your phone? How do you, get your dopamine hit on your phone, right? You scroll Instagram, doom scrolling and whatever. And how do you like mask your boredom through your phone? Like, all of these things, when we used to be bored, we would find things to fill our time, and we would become filmmakers, or we would become musicians, or become football players or whatever, because we were bored and we didn't know what else to do. So we found something to entertain us. And I think it's just the constant finding new ways to make things easier for us, that we all kind of want and we search for, but at the same time, I think we know that there's a point where it's too easy. Like, look at like the way we listen to music, right? Like, Spotify is way easy, but there is sometimes a resurgence of things that are harder. Like, vinyl has had this big resurgence in the last 10 years or so. And a lot of people have, record players and listen to vinyl. That is a huge pain in the ass. It's huge. Not only is it a bitch to rewind something, you got to get up, you got to move the needle, you got to find the right spot, and but you got to flip the thing over. You got to take it out of the sleeve, you got to put it on the record. Like, so sometimes inconveniences become a really cool thing that we search for. But for the most part, I blame the phone, man. I think that it's just the main, not even the internet. Like the internet is one thing because you have a computer, you sit down, you get on the internet on your computer, and then you get up and you leave the internet. But if you have your phone with you all the time, you always have the internet. You always have all of these easy things. So yeah, man, I don't know. I think that we want easy things, but at the same time, we also want to feel things. And sometimes easy doesn't mean feeling. Easy just means easy. And that's not something that lasts. It doesn't give us the same, it doesn't give you the same sustenance to order Uber Eats as it does to make the food yourself, like to your point, and to eat it. If you make that steak, that steak will taste better. You will enjoy it more than if you just ordered it and it came to you or whatever. I have this thing, I'll say this and I'll stop, but I have this thing where like as awesome as it is, like in my job, right? They give me a computer, right? And I use that computer for everything. I even use it for, making music, my personal stuff. I have this thing where I don't like that. Like, yes, it's great. I have a computer, but it's not mine. Right? The computer is not mine. Or if somebody loans me a guitar that I want really badly, that I love, and they're like, hey, you can borrow this as long as you want. It's not the same thing as me owning it, as it being mine. And so what I make with that thing will be completely different than if I were to have saved up the money and worked hard to buy that computer or to buy that guitar. It is a totally different feel. And I think that that's lost on a lot of people because they just want to, be given the guitar or be given the computer to use or whatever. And not realizing that it's only a tool, it's only a tool, but the way that you look at it is completely the way that you use it is dependent upon how you look at it. So I don't know.
I love that. I think my last note will be just hearing what you were talking about in our conversations about embracing boredom. I've been doing that more, hitting pause, not listening to music when I work out. And if I do, listening to classical music, Apple, my iPhone, right, has an app for just pure classical music. And so I'll just listen to something without lyrics that leaves me space to think. And then a lot of times I just pause everything. I'll put my earbuds in fact, to dial down the world. And I'll work out to silence. And I'll go on long walks to silence. And I think the thing that is really cool is boredom, silence, even dieting, makes these other experiences even better. And I think that's what we're after, is better experiences. We're escaping boredom, but we want, like you said, we want to feel something. We want a good experience. And if you've never not eaten for a day, and then the next day you eat, how good is that meal? It's so good. And I remember reading about this guy who was talking about he fasted for a week just so that he could taste this meal that he was excited about. He was like, I'm going to some nice restaurant and I'm really excited about it. And so I fasted for 5 days beforehand. And then when I showed up and I ate, I was so satisfied. Obviously he filled up longer, quicker. But also the meal itself just was the best. I'm not advocating that, but that concept of creating space that allows for whatever then occupies that space later to really reflect what it is. Whereas if you're just constantly putting stuff in your ears and, eating things and you're not really creating any space for those moments to exist if it's just crammed next to another moment. Kind of like what Pete was talking about. He's like, just this moment. Like, and you can have just this moment with dead silence, and that's okay. And in fact, it'll make the next moment even better. Maybe, probably.
Space to think. I love it. That was amazing. That was my favorite part of this whole conversation was this last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the pod this week. Make sure to join us next week. And if there's a film you'd like to see us pick apart to talk about, recommend it. Who knows? Maybe one day we will cover it. Please subscribe, review us wherever you get your podcasts. It all helps a lot. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies. Nope, I'm dead. You keep walking. I'm dead.
Cutting.
This is how I walk.
For 4 days straight.
Yeah.
What if they had one guy who really just was a fucking goofy walker like that? Yeah, the whole time in the background.
They did. They did. It was fucking, what was it, Olson or whatever? Like the little guy?
Olson, yeah, eventually.
With the gum?
With the gum.
He's like,
yeah, it's true.
the whole time. Especially when he got tired, you know? Oh my God. Okay, cutting. Sorry.